All right. So we just put this sum if formula in. And as I mentioned, sum if, it's broken down into three parts. Probably the easiest way to look at this would be to look at this particular box here, which describes each of the function arguments. So the first is the range that I want to look up. Here is the lookup range. Here is the criteria that I want to find. And then the last is what is it that I want to sum. Let me move this over. And so here is what I want to sum. So this kind of goes right here. This range is right there. Okay. All right. So now there's a couple things that I need to fix, because when I do this, I want to be able to create this formula in a way that I can copy it from left to right and it work, right? So I can get the time, pages viewed, amount spent, etc. And so obviously I need to make some fixes. So the first fix I'm going to make is I want to make sure that this column right here doesn't change. I want it always to look at column C. The reason why I want it to look at column C is because that is where my criteria is going to be. So the way to fix that is to use my function key F4, press it once, and my dollar signs are created. Now also, I want this particular part of the formula to be fixed. I don't want the row, I don't want the column to change, but I'm going to allow the row to change. So this is a mixed reference, so I'm just going to put a dollar sign in front of B, which represents the column. And the third part of this particular formula is column E, which represents the time. And as I move left to right, it's going to go through each column, and I do want that to change. So I am going to copy this down and then copy this left to right. And now I have the sum of each of these items. All right. Now, the next thing I need to do is I need to now do the average over here. Now, I've purposely moved these in this order so that way I can basically repeat what I just did, but using the average if formula. So here's a quick, easy trick. Now, I'm going to select on the cell where I have my sum if, go to the formula bar, copy that formula, okay? Hit escape on my keyboard, come over here to the cell where I want the average. I'm going to click inside the formula bar and paste here, okay? Notice that this was not doing an absolute or relative copy paste. It is simply doing a verbatim paste, meaning that it's exactly the way it was written. The only thing I need to change here, instead of making this a sum if, is make this an average if. And now I have my formula there. I can now copy it down, and I'm going to adjust that formatting and then move that left to right. Okay. So actually, let's go ahead and adjust all that formatting. Obviously, there's zeros here. I probably don't need those. Everything else is 2 decimal places, and it looks like it's necessary. All right. So the last thing that I can do is move and drag these close to one another. So I basically select the column I want changed, hold down my shift key, click and drag, move it over to the right. Okay. These are going to be merged and centered. They're exactly the same text, so it doesn't matter to me. Boom. All right. So now I have a categorical data based on day of all of my data. Okay. This is very, very useful to me. Okay. And so now I can start to take a look at if there's any days of the week that has more, where people are spending more time, that kind of stuff. Now, one thing that we can do here, which is very nice in Excel, apply some conditional formatting and put data bars in. And we can start to see if there's anything that is just interesting. Hold on a second. Let me just pick, not that one. That one, there we go. And I'm starting to see, just by doing this, that there is some kind of occurrence happening here. and some kind of occurrence happening here, right? So we have some kind of a distribution going on. So that's quite interesting, something that we can evaluate. Obviously, more time spent, more pages viewed. That makes sense. More money spent. More time spent, more pages viewed, more money spent. Okay. So then we could also do the same thing with the average. I'm going to put this in a different color. Say, yeah, yellow. And there doesn't seem to be as obvious of some kind of situation there, that, or some kind of relationship, right? So, but we do know that something is happening on Monday and Friday that is allowing people to come in and spend more time and also spend more money. So that helps us with some kind of analytics with this business and be able to do some more things. Now, what I want to do is I want to explore time a little bit, right? And we have time variables up here, and we've talked about histograms briefly. So I'm going to show you what I call an easy histogram, and we're going to talk through how this works. So to start with, I'm going to go back to my descriptive analytics. I'm going to copy what I have here, and I'm just going to paste values just so that way I know I have these numbers in play. I guess I could, format it just a little bit. Count is going to be an integer. Everything else is going to be fine. Right. Actually, a real easy thing to do would be to copy and paste the formatting. There we go. Now it looks the same. The thing that I want to pay attention to is, let's say I wanted to create a histogram. Now, by the way, Excel has a very easy histogram tool. But I want to show you the hard way first so you can appreciate the easy way. Well, it's going to be semi-hard, but not really that hard. The first thing that we will have to figure out when we're creating a histogram, remember we have numerical data. So we have to calculate the number of bins that we want, right? And so just for this example, I'm going to say I want 12 bins, right? So the next thing we have to figure out is our bin size. Well, bin size is nothing more than the range divided by our desired number of bins. Well, that makes sense. So now we have 2.38. Well, I will tell you that if when you're calculating a histogram bin size, you always want to round up a little bit. So I'm going to say that I'm going to create a target bin size, right? And that target bin size is going to equal 2.5, right? And I use that just by rounding up to 2.3. Okay, so here's the easy histogram. These are all numbers, by the way. I wanted to show you how to calculate because we're going to use those with our easy histogram. All right, here we go. We go back to my data set. Now, time is where I wanted to create my histogram. In Excel 2019, actually this started in Excel 2016. So if you're using an earlier version of Excel, this won't be available. And so the easy histogram is something you just have to watch. We're going to go to Insert. And here in Charts, we're specifically looking for this one right here in the center. And click down, and then there's histograms. Boom. Click histogram. Wow, that was faster than I thought. I want to move this chart to my easy histogram chart, and I'm going to just go ahead and put this right here. All right. Now, why did I have us calculate all these things over here? Well, I want to get a sense of this data set. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to click on the Format Axis. And over here on the right, I want my number of bins to be 12. So it'll give me 12 bins. Another option I have is to make my bins a width of 2.5, and then it gives me my bin width that I wanted. That is an easy histogram.